All right, we're gonna get started. All right, so I know some of you know who I am, probably most don't. So I'm Andrew Foliato. I run a company called Just Sell Homes. We're a digital marketing agency that specializes in real estate. I was an agent for a couple of years. I was with Remax York Group, then we got bought out by Remax Hallmark. So I was Remax for a few years. I grew my business online, so a lot of what we're doing, like I was self-taught doing that. And then Integra recruited me. I ended up training for Integra for a while, so I was doing that. So actually, a couple years ago, I was in your office quite often doing training, so some of you might have seen me. You were with the office a few years ago. But now we run ads for about 80, 85 agents across North America. So a lot of what we're going to show you today is stuff we're actively doing in different marketplaces across North America, a lot of them in the GTA. Just out of curiosity, how many people have run Facebook ads before? And then for those who've done that, out of those, are you just hitting boost post? Is that kind of how you're running ads, is hitting boost? So if that's what you're doing now, never hit that button again. So there's one of the reasons for that is, I'll just pull up Facebook, like a page. Pull up my page as an example, just in case you're not sure because you never run one what I'm talking about. So this button here where it says boost post, you don't want to hit that. It does run an ad, but the problem with that is there's a lot of different ways that people use Facebook, and this will only optimize your ad for one of them. So when you hit boost post, what it does is Facebook says, all right, they want more people to like it, comment it, and share it. But if you actually think about how people use Facebook, that's only like maybe 20% of people. The majority of people on Facebook don't engage. They might click every article you ever wrote, and they might go read it on your website, but they're not engaging with you. If you optimize for this, you're losing out on all those people because they're only trying to find the people that will engage. Whereas those people who might read and then contact you privately, they're not going to have it show to them. You also lose out on a lot of the targeting options when you go through this way. And what makes Facebook so powerful is that the amount of information they have about all of us, and then being able to leverage that in an ad is really useful. So if you go this route of hitting boost post here, you lose a lot of the advantages that Facebook ads actually offer. So what you should do when you're on Facebook is go into the back end into the ads manager, which brings you into something like this. If you've run ads before, it'll show you a list of all your ads here. This is just a training account we use, that's why it's empty. But if you had run ads before, you'd see it'd be more filled with the different ads that you have going there.
Sorry, Andrew. Can you run ads from your personal and your business page, or is it just business?
You have to have a business page to run ads.
It has to be business.
Right, so you can't run ads, well, you can run an ad without a business page, but it'll only be a right column ad, and those are not worth it. So you need a business page. Now, I'm sure you got a lot of guys heard that Facebook's making changes to the way everything's gonna work. For paid ads, it basically won't affect you, besides cost will go up a little bit. But cost was always going to go up with Facebook ads because more people are using them, and the more people that use them, the costs are going to go up. Similar to how Google used to be really cheap, now it's kind of gone up and been expensive. Facebook's going to go that route too. All the changes we'll do from a paid Facebook ad perspective is just going to speed up the rising costs. But like with us, we're still getting leads sometimes as cheap as 50 cents a lead on Facebook. So it's still pretty cheap to run ads that way if you know how to do it properly. So we're going to show you kind of some of the things we do when you're running an ad, how to run it the right way to actually get results out of it. So we hit create ad. So this is what I was talking before. If you hit boost post, you lose all these options. These are basically Facebook's way of you telling them, here's what I want to get out of my ad. So a lot of them for real estate you can actually just ignore, and I'll go through each one and let you know. So on the right here you have brand awareness and reach. We never use those. I mean, brand awareness is great, getting a lot of reach is great, but that generally doesn't drive leads, and there's better options for driving leads. So personally, we don't use these ever. There's no massive downside if you're just looking to get a lot of exposure, but from when we're looking at results of what we're doing, we've just started ignoring these because they don't do any better than any of the other options out there. You can also ignore app installs, and you can ignore catalog sales and store visits. Don't worry about those ones.
Is it possible to do large?
It should be, yeah.
Just a touch more.
How's that?
Good.
Is that better? All right. So the ones that we use mostly, so there's traffic, and all that means is we're sending traffic to your website or to a website that's out there. That's just a great one for getting people to your site. But before you do that, who here knows what the Facebook pixel is? Couple? So has anyone gone shopping on Amazon, like looked at a shirt, gone back to Facebook and seen an ad for that shirt?
Yeah.
That's the Facebook pixel. You can do the same thing with your site if you get the pixel on it. So you could say someone could look at a property on your site, go back to Facebook, see an ad for that property, or a property in a similar price range. You can control that type of thing by doing it. So all you have to do to get it is if you come up here, up the top, you just come to all tools and there's one called pixels here, and you just copy it, like it'll give you, walk you through instructions, send the pixel, this question. It's the exact same thing. So tag marketing is normally I think it's done by Agent Locator. They've basically given a new name to it. They came up with their own name for doing it. So basically tag, it's remarketing, retargeting, there's all of the different names you hear about it. But basically what it is they're gonna track whoever comes to your site and you can run ads to them. So all you have to do is get the pixel, send it to whoever manages your website and say, can you put this on my website for me? If they don't know how to do it, you need a new website guy because it's really easy. So if they can't, just new website. But it's really easy to set up, so don't worry too much about that. They'll know how to do it. So once you do that, now when you're sending traffic to your site, if you're doing an ad like that, so say you wrote a blog post and you're sending traffic to your site, now say that one's about like what to do with a matrimonial home in the case of divorce. You could now run an ad to those people with a divorce-related ad, because you know if they read this article about matrimonial homes, they're probably, going through that type of situation. Now it's a much more targeted ad to those people because you know the message that's going to work for them. Or if you're running an ad about buying a home with a pool, 7 things to watch out for, run an ad to those people for buying a home with a pool. So you can, based on the actions they're taking on your site, now you'll be able to run another ad to them that's a lot more specific to their situation, and it costs you a lot less because it's a much smaller audience you're going and you know what message will be effective.
Sorry, this is by doing the pixels.
Right, so you just need to get it on your site. As soon as it's on your site, you can just tell Facebook, run an ad to anyone who's been on this page, or anyone who's been to my entire site. So it's pretty flexible once you get it on there, but even if you don't plan on running an ad like that for a while, you should still get the pixel on your site so that it can start tracking people and building that data. Because what's cool about Facebook, and when I'm talking about one of the other objectives there, I'll show you, is it learns what's a lead for you. So if you say anyone who does this is a seller lead, once they get about 50 people that they understand as a seller lead, they can now analyze them and find more people like them and bring your cost per lead down. So like we have a client out in Belleville right now. We were getting about $12 a seller lead when we were running ads. After he hit about 60, we got down to $3 a seller lead because Facebook learned this is a seller lead, this is what he wants, let's find more people like that. So they'll analyze everything they know and then help you bring your cost per lead down. But that takes Facebook about 50 or 60 leads until they can make that switch. That $12 a lead to like $3 a lead, that's more one of the dramatic swings we've seen. Normally it's like $8 to $6, $8 to $5, but still a pretty good change once you're adding it all up. An engagement ad is exactly what it sounds like, just getting people on Facebook to engage. We don't use those too often. Because from a lead gen perspective, I'd rather get their name, email, and phone number than just getting them to comment on a status. Because even I was at a presentation by someone from Facebook, and the direct quote from him was, likes, comments, and shares don't drive business, leads do. And that's basically why we don't do that too often. But if you want comments, you want shares, things like that, you would use the engagement one there. If you have video, you do a lot of video. Video views, very simple. It's exactly what it sounds like. Just get more people to watch your videos. What's cool about that one is you can also now say anyone who watched 25% of my video or 50% of my video, retarget them with an ad. So Facebook will track who's actually watching your videos, and now you can run another ad to them based on the percentage of your video that they watch. So that's one route we go with those. Lead generation one's a really cool one. So the kind of the traditional way to market online, you have your ad, it goes to a landing page, they fill out a form on the landing page, then they go to the thank you page, you get the lead. What lead generation does is it actually eliminates the need for landing pages at all. So what it does is it pops up a form on Facebook that's pre-filled in with their contact information that they've given Facebook. So like their cell phone number that they've given Facebook, the email they've given Facebook, that's already going to pre-filled in on the form. They just hit submit, it goes right away. The downside of these ads is Facebook doesn't notify you when you get a new lead. So you have to get a third-party service that will connect into Facebook and pull that lead out for you. I use one called LeadsBridge. It works really well. If you already are using something like Zapier, that works as well. I would say either LeadsBridge or Zapier is the way you want to go. I personally prefer LeadsBridge, but if you're already paying for Zapier, you might as well keep that one going. I can send a follow-up email with some of those links in there so you can go straight to them. But they're great for that. What we do find, question?
Sorry, I lost you there. Bridge and Zapier are?
So they're a tool that goes into Facebook and pulls the leads out and delivers them to you. Because the lead gen style ads, Facebook doesn't notify you when you get a new lead. You have to manually go to your Facebook page with this ad and look and see if there's a new one. And that really kills your response time. You have to keep going just to look if there's a new one. So with those tools, they basically just sit there quietly waiting for a lead, and then as soon as it comes in, they pull it out and send it to you. Or if you have the certain CRM, it'll pull it out and put it right into your CRM for you. So like some of our clients are on Follow Up Boss, and it'll actually pull the lead out right away, automatically text the lead a little message, and then start them on a drip campaign as well. So depending on the CRM you have, you could do something like that. But lead gen ads are great for quantity. Like if you want a lot of leads, it's great. Quality's lower on them. So for instance, like when we run ads on listings, those are the type of ads with the lead gen. We can get 50-cent leads, $1 leads. Like we probably average $1 to $4, $1 to $5 a lead using those. But you're looking at probably a 2% conversion rate. So you're getting 50 leads to get a good one. It takes time. You can get a lot out of it, but it's going to take a lot of leads to kind of get through it. So this is where you're looking at quantity versus quality. So when you know how to do it, you can actually decide with your ads, do you want more quality leads or just a higher number? What we find is like teams who have buyer agents, they want quantity so they can just feed as many leads as possible. A lot of people who are on their own who are pretty busy would rather, I only want 5 to 10 leads a month, I just want them to be quality. That's another route you can take once you know kind of how to set it up. There's one more down here, that's messages. I don't use it too often. We use it sometimes with coming soon properties. Basically all it is instead of them giving up like their name, email, and phone number, when they click on the ad, it just opens up a message with your Facebook page. There's some value there. Personally, we find some of the others get better results. So we don't do that too often, but it is an option if you just want to open up. Because what's nice about it is it opens up a direct line of communication right away. The downside, you don't get their email, you don't get their phone number, all you have is their name and their Facebook profile. So it's not as valuable to me as one of the other options. And then once you start getting really comfortable with Facebook ads, the last one you want to look at is conversions. This is a bit more of an advanced tactic, so I wouldn't jump right into that one until you're a little bit more comfortable. And you need the Pixel installed to run a conversion ad. So basically what it's doing is, I was talked about before, where you're training Facebook to understand what a lead is. So I'll have like my thank you page and my landing page. So someone comes into the landing page, when they opt in, they go to the thank you page. The only way to get to the thank you page is if you became a lead. And what you do with the conversion ad is you tell them, anyone who gets to the thank you page, this is a seller lead for me. And then Facebook will start optimizing the ad as they learn about these people to bring more people who are similar to that thank you page. So that's the one where they're learning who your ideal lead is and finding more people like them for you. Over time, this is the lowest cost per lead from a quality standpoint you can get, but it takes time to get there. That's why it's a bit more that advanced. You have to have the pixel there. You have to go into a section on Facebook called the custom conversion and tell them, if someone comes here, it's this type of lead. If someone comes here, it's this type of lead. So it takes a little bit more setup to do that side. So at the beginning, I would start with either traffic or lead gen most likely. And then with understanding your goal is to get to a conversion style ad. Once you're a little bit more comfortable, you have the pixel installed on your site. But the first thing you guys should take away from this is get the pixel on your site, even if you're not planning on running ads for a while, just so that it can start tracking all the traffic and learning about who's coming to your site. Because they will start understanding who's coming to your site, so later on you can run ads to them. Now we'll do a ad here.
So how much does something like Zapier or LeadsBridge cost a month to?
Zapier, there's a free version. LeadsBridge, yeah, as lead ads in the premium one. They're not like, I think they're probably like 10, 20 bucks a month type of thing. They're not overly expensive, but I mean, everything adds up, right? And I know in real estate, kind of the joke's always been you get $20 a month to death. So, so there are some cool things here when you're getting actually building audience. So this part here where we're doing targeting with your Facebook ads is where you can do some really cool stuff. So like obviously here you're not going to target the whole world, but you can start getting really specific. So what's like the first 3 digits of the postal code here? M9W. Alright. So by doing that, you're now able to target. Can you guys bring that up a bit? So you can see this here. So now it's just pulled out that postal code. So the ways you can target, first 3 digits of postal codes, the closer you get to the city, the more valuable that is. So like I'm from Aurora, not that valuable because that's just the entire town is 3 digits of a postal code. But like for instance, especially when you get right downtown, that's a really effective way to do it. You could also type in like the name, so I'll just use Aurora as an example. And it's going to default to a radius, but you can switch and say just the city. So for instance, right now I'd be targeting Aurora and that postal code. And then you can also click on drop pin, drop a pin here, and you can say, okay, actually I just want a 1 mile radius there as well. I mean, obviously this would be a really random ad if we were actually to run one with that type of targeting with those areas, but that's one way to do it. The other one you can do is just type in an address. So if you say have a listing, you could just say, okay, I want to go 1 Yonge Street, 1 mile around it. So those are kind of the main ways you're looking at when you're running your ads, is you can say, okay, I want to do those areas, either by address, postal code, or just drop a pin. You can also come in and say, okay, but I actually want to exclude this area. So now you could do it that way where depending on, so the example I always give is, how many people are familiar with Newmarket? Anyone? Couple? So if I'm in Newmarket, I'm going to run an ad to almost all of Newmarket, probably exclude the dog patch. I don't really want a lot of clients in the dog patch. If you're familiar with it, I'm going to exclude that one. So you could exclude parts of town if you don't want to work there. My friend in Oshawa says he always excludes North Oshawa, but that's really up to you if you want to do that or not. But it's a nice way to be able to kind of change a few things around when you're running your ads, and you can get really specific. So like one of the reasons we use the address, for example, like you ever had that kind of pain in the butt client who's like, I never see you advertising my property? You can just run an ad to their house so that when they log on to Facebook, they're going to see it. And if you know your client's age, you'd be like, I'm going to run an ad to my client's address for anyone between 40 and 45. That's probably going to be them. They log on to Facebook. Costs you like $5 a day because that's the minimum budget. And they will always see your ad when they log on to Facebook. It's always going to look like you're doing something for them. So the other side of that, if you have a listing presentation coming up 4 days from now, run an ad to that house before your listing presentation with ads of you advertising properties. Now when you walk into that listing presentation, they've seen you advertising now for a week leading up to it. Now it's not just I do Facebook advertising, they've seen your advertisements for a week. And then you follow it up with a couple more days, so after if they're interviewing other people, now they can see more of your ads coming after too. So we've had a few clients who've won a few listings that way, so it's a pretty easy thing to do. Yeah.
I'm doing some work for daycare. Can you figure out target like families with young kids?
Yeah, I'll show you how after we get through the map. There's a section there where you can go demographics. The one other thing in the map you want to make sure you pay attention to is this button here. What the default here is everyone in this location. And that's exactly what it sounds like. Literally anyone who has Facebook who comes into any of these areas, they're going to hit with an ad. But and especially when you're in the city, you get a lot of tourists. So you want to switch to everyone who lives in this location. And with that, unless you're targeting people who are visiting or going to buy, but that's a really small kind of market with Facebook ads. So if you switch to everyone who lives there, now it's only people who say that they live in the Toronto area, or in this case in Aurora as well. So it's another way to do it. The other options would be people recently here or people traveling. The people traveling one is anyone who's in town who lives more than 200 kilometers away. Unless you're selling recreational properties up north, it's not one that you're really going to use that often. So I don't recommend it for like the city. But even Muskoka, it's not 200 kilometers away, so it doesn't even really work for that either. But it is an option there if you were selling rec properties that you could target people who are only in town kind of vacationing who actually live somewhere else. But for most of you, just the people who live in this location is more than enough. Yep.
Kind of when I put the postal code, like you have an address, you have the word, and you have a postal code, right?
Yeah.
I tried before putting postal codes and then I put Toronto and then it overrides and all my postal codes disappear.
So sometimes if there's too much overlap with the ones you're putting in, it just picks one. Because if you say like put like 3 pins down and they're all the same area, there's like this is redundant, we're just picking one. So that sometimes happens. It gets a little finicky if you start getting too close with multiple areas. So if I just put 5 pins on top of each other, they're just gonna pick one of them. But if you say do like 1 pin in the middle, then you do some around the outside to exclude some areas around the outside, then you can get away with it. But it's just a little bit of tricky there sometimes.
With the exclude, is it the same way you can exclude by address, postal code, or city?
Yep.
Same
Anything
way?
that you can add to the map, you can exclude in the same way. And there doesn't really even have to be like rhyme or reason. Like a cool one that we did. I don't know if many people here would. Does anyone here do military relocations? Probably not the right area for it. We had a client who works CFP Borden. So what we did is we actually put a pin on every military base in Canada. So anyone who stepped on a military base would see our ads only for being relocated to Borden. So if you know where your clients are going to be, you can get a little bit creative with it. So like another example, like if there's a home show you're going to, or like as an example, I used to coach basketball, and when I did a tournament, I didn't want to be that guy walking around to all the parents being like, hey, I'm also a real estate agent. So instead what I did is I ran an ad to the gym during the tournament with my face and the Remax logo, being like, you know, you want to talk real estate, reach out to me. Kind of a boring ad from a getting them to actually engage with the ad. So what it does, all the parents who were at the game, as soon as I went on Facebook, saw that I was in real estate, and then during like breaks in the games, they started come up to me and talk about it. It's like, hey, I just saw you on Facebook. I didn't know you were in real estate. Start talking to me about it that way. So then they were the ones approaching me. So if you know you have an event coming up, you can do that. So like as an example, like when I go to a real estate conference, if I know there's gonna be 200 agents in the building, I'm gonna run an ad to the conference with me. Like I did one, I was on stage. I took a selfie of me on stage, sent it to the girls on my team. Before my presentation was done, there was an ad running to the building with a picture of me on stage saying like, come find me after my session for, you know, a free consult or something like that. So if you know where people are gonna be, you have like, you know, your kids are having an event at their school, you can run an ad just to the school to parents in that area so that when they see it, they're gonna know it's you. So there's some cool things you can do like that, and those ads are really cheap to run. Like you can spend $20 and you'll reach almost everyone at the school during an event. Then there's age. This one's pretty self-explanatory. We normally go 30 plus in the GTA. Not a lot of people are going to be buying or selling under 30. Buying, we might drop it to 26, 27. If it's condos, we might change it a little bit. But for sellers, we never go below 30. The closer to the core, the higher up that goes. Again, if you're doing condos, it's a little bit different. If you're doing houses, it goes a little bit higher. You know the areas you work in. You know the ages when people are buying and selling, so just trust your judgment on that one. You can go by men or women. What we find, about 60% of our leads, 60, 65, will always be women. Women opt in more at a higher rate, but they opt in at a cost per lead around the same number. So while women opt in more, there's no advantage to excluding men or anything like that. What you find is you're going to get a similar cost per lead, you're just going to get more women. So we normally just leave both on, unless it's a very specific ad. For instance, we had one client, she only worked with divorced women over 40. So in that situation, we 40 women only. And then down here we put divorce. So there's a few things like that, but otherwise I would just leave it all on there. Here for languages, a lot of people are like, I'm just going to put English to make sure whoever does English, almost always when you're running ads in Toronto, this number never changed. Like I'll put in English now. Almost everyone who lives here lists English as a language, even if it's not great English. So like it's at 270. So we knocked off 10,000 people. So on the right here, it gives you every time you make a change, how many people are in your audience. So we only went from 270 to 260. So you lose 10,000 people who don't speak English. The value of that is if you speak another language. So if you speak something else, you can run an ad to people who only speak that language. So we had a client in Texas, for example, who spoke Spanish. We ran a Spanish language ad. It cut our cost per lead by like 70% because they were reading it in their own language and they didn't ever see any other ads like that. So If you speak Russian or Punjabi or anything like that, choose that as your targeting, write an ad in that language, and you'll find your responses will probably be a lot better. Even if you're writing the ad in English, it helps you kind of narrow down your focus too if you want to work within a specific community. So that's where language is valuable. If you don't speak other languages, you can put English. We haven't found it really change the results, putting it or not putting it, so we normally leave that blank personally. The only time we use it again is if we're clients speaking another language and they want to run an ad to that community. And then here's where Facebook gets really valuable, is choosing interests and demographics or excluding interests or demographics. So a lot of people we talk to say like, okay, I'm going to target anyone interested in real estate. The problem with that is who's interested in real estate is you guys and mortgage brokers. So if you want to run an ad to real estate agents and mortgage brokers, pick real estate as an interest. Facebook, that kind of broad interest targeting as well, isn't that accurate either. So for instance, Facebook, and I know because if you know how, you can actually see why an ad's targeting you. They think I'm interested in tennis. I'm not. I think I read an article once about like Serena Williams winning Wimbledon while she was pregnant and thought it was interesting. Now they think I'm interested in tennis. So I see ads for tennis stuff. That type of broad interest targeting doesn't work. So you want to get a lot more specific with your targeting. So the first one that we normally look at is demographic stuff that's easy. So as an example, are they married, single, or parents? So there's two ways you can do it. You can either say, I want to target anyone who's married, or I want to exclude anyone who's single. So what I prefer to do usually is click on the exclude button here and just exclude single. The reason I do that instead of including people who are married, if I say target people who are married, it's only targeting married people who list that they're married on Facebook. I'm going to lose all those people who don't list their relationship status on Facebook. But if I exclude single, I'm only excluding people who self-identify as single on Facebook. So you're losing a lot of those people while you're still getting a few more. So like we lost 20,000 single people on there who probably, if this is an ad for sellers, probably not going to be selling. They probably don't own the home right now. So that's a really easy way to exclude people. But now say you have a home that, it's definitely going to be bought by a married couple and they're definitely going to have kids. You can run an ad to people who are married and have children. So here you'd come in and say married. And then underneath a button pops up that says narrow audience. And here's where you say parents. And what's cool here is you can either do all parents or you can start going here based on the age of the children. So you'd be like parents with adult children, teenagers, preteens, early school, preschool, toddlers, 0 to 12 months. So if you know like this is only going to be people with kids under 8, select the ones that are children under 8. So now this ad would only be going to married people with kids under a certain age. So like if you know who that likely buyer is, you can run that pretty well. I'm just going to go all for now. So now we went from 240,000 people, 24,000. Now it's a super cheap one to run. Facebook knows everything about you. You'd be surprised at like what they can learn based on the information you've given them or the activity you take online. So for example, like Google, you want to know how they know if someone's pregnant? If they type in how big is an apple, how big is a blueberry. Because the only people checking fruit size is someone who's told that the fetus inside of them is the size of a blueberry. Based on what you're doing online, Facebook learns this stuff. Like Target, for example, they actually have a pregnancy predictor score in their analytics. So based on what you're buying, Target knows if you're pregnant, how far along you are, and then we'll run ads and send coupons to you saying, you're 12 weeks pregnant, that means at week 14 you're gonna have to buy this vitamin. Week 13, we're going to send you an ad for a coupon for that vitamin.
So scary, man.
Yeah, so it's really, that type of data is what Facebook's leveraging to get that stuff about you. It's actually like really cool, some of the stuff that they can pull out. And no, like, it's not around anymore, but it's because they discontinued. But basically it's what Trump used to win the election with Facebook ads, was you could upload profiles to this thing and they'd analyze them and be like, okay, we're going to tell you everything about you based on what you like on Facebook. So when I uploaded my profile just out of curiosity, they told, without looking at my relationship status or anything else except what I liked on Facebook, They were able to tell me what my religion was. They were able to tell me my political leanings broken down by percentage, and it was the most accurate view of my political stances I've ever seen. They knew I was straight and married, and like a bunch of other things about me just based on what I liked. And then they tell you why. So that was the interesting side of it too, is like, they're like, you like this TV show, so you're more likely to be straight. You like this one, so that means you're maybe a little less likely to be straight. And then they kind of start bringing all these things around, and they can tell you. So if you're curious, the most straight thing you can like on Facebook is the Wu-Tang Clan. That's one of the things we learned during all the data that they're analyzing.
Where do you see
So,
it?
pardon?
Where can you go to see that?
So that, as last I checked, they discontinued it because after the whole Trump Facebook ads thing, there was a lot of flack out there, so they tried to lower their profile a bit. But during the election, it was a company called Cambridge Analytica. But now I haven't seen that they offer that tool anymore because it was pretty creepy looking at it, knowing, like literally, they had down to like, you're 32% this, 32% this, 16% this, and I was like, that's accurate. Like, that is exactly my political leanings. And that's just based on what I liked on Facebook. So that type of data, Facebook has it all about all of us, and then you can leverage it here. So now, some of the other things you might want to look at here is how you want to target people. So there's no reason that you can't leverage other people's money. And what I mean by that is if you're thinking, I want to target homeowners, how are you going to target homeowners? You don't have millions of dollars in budget to narrow down only to people who own a home. So think about other companies that have a big budget that are going to target homeowners. Exactly. Home Depot, they don't care about renters because renters don't spend money on their home the same way. Home Depot is spending all their money to target homeowners. So all you have to do is target Home Depot and let Home Depot be the ones targeting it. Or if I'm running an ad to say like, I run that niche of like, I work with entrepreneurs trying to buy a home, look at who has influence over entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, people like that. Look at who they're following. So if you know who your audience is, don't make it real estate related, just think about who's following them. Or if you have a home on a golf course coming up, and you know it's going to be someone who loves golf who's going to buy that home, don't target people with an interest in golf, because again, that could be just anyone who read one article. But it's not, you even got to think about it a little bit differently. You can't also target people interested in Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods is too mainstream, too many people would know. Like how many people here follow the Tiger Woods saga and don't care about golf at all, right? There's probably quite a few of you. So you got to think about, in the golf niche, as an example, who's big so that anyone who's into golf would know, anyone outside of golf wouldn't. So like in this case, maybe like Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson, or Titleist, or the companies that sell only golf products, target those companies, those people. Don't target the mainstream. Like same like I do with UFC. I'm not going to target Conor McGregor. I'm going to target maybe someone who's a little bit below him in popularity, but still near the top of the sport. Yeah.
How do you target Home Depot? Do you put it as part of like?
So where it says married here, you just come in, type in Home Depot,
Okay.
and then it comes up as one of the options.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You taught us once to, how do you exclude real estate agents? So
Yeah,
they're
I'll
not
show you.
seeing yours.
Yeah, so down here where it says exclude, where we excluded
Oh.
single people, you can also exclude agents from seeing your ads. So right now you can't exclude by job titles. Some people were doing some pretty racist things with job titles. It caused a big controversy, and they now you just can't target by job titles until they learn how to fix the algorithm. So you can't exclude people by job titles. Plus, even if you could, it wasn't effective for real estate agents anyways, because you guys list a million different things as your job. You know, some are sales associates, some are sales reps, some are brokers, some are broker owner. Like, there's a million different ways it ends up playing out. Some are team leader. Like, even though you're only supposed to be sales rep or broker, you never actually put that on your Facebook profile. You also can't target by where they work, because none of you, I bet, or the majority of you, don't list Remax West as your employer on Facebook. You probably list your business page, or nothing at all. And you can't target by every single agent's individual business page. So instead, you got to look at what are real estate agents like that nobody else does. Toronto Real Estate Board, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Inman News, Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini. Great one, Real Estate Council of Ontario, because nobody else but agents are going to be into RICO. So exclude anyone with an interest in RICO. Added bonus, RICO's not going to see your ads. You didn't hear that from me.
But I guess they're recording, so.
I'm recording it. I'm going to edit that part out. So like, just think about what do agents like that no one else does. And you don't want to go too far. So like as an example, Dotloop, which is an e-signature platform, you could exclude that to exclude agents, but don't do DocuSign, because a lot of people outside of real estate use DocuSign as well. Now you're going to lose other business people. So you have to think it has to be a real estate only interest, and then target that. And then that's whether it's including or excluding, you choose if you want them in or not. But that's how we would target, or so like for us, for our business, that's how we target, or for you guys when it's our clients, that's how we exclude. So you want to look at it that way. And now you've done all this work, you got to run another ad, you don't want to do it again. Right at the bottom it says save this audience. You can just save it next time when you run an ad. Instead of having to go through that process again, you just come up to the beginning, use the saved audience, pick the one that you built last time, and now you can run it. So at the beginning, build a couple that are kind of going to be your standard targeting. Spend an hour building a few different ones. Never have to do it again, unless you have like a new campaign, new attempt you want to try. But if you're always kind of going similar demographics, you only have to build it once, and then just keep reusing that over time. And if anyone else like comes into that area, they'll add them to the audience for you, who would meet those like the matches that you created. Any questions about targeting before I go on to placements?
Awesome. I've been doing it wrong.
Most people have though, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, so placements is where your ad's running on Facebook. There's actually, because it's not just the Facebook newsfeed where you can run an ad, there's all these different options for running an ad. So the first one, Facebook newsfeeds, always run that. It's always the best results. I've never had one of the other versions get better results than a Facebook newsfeed ad. It looks like a regular post on Facebook. They do really well.
Is that the one that says sponsored ad?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, so it just looks like a regular post, just says sponsored underneath the title. And those ones always perform the best. So I'd always run that. Above this, I'm not going to show it because you should never touch it. There is an option to switch to mobile only or desktop only. So you're like, I only want this ad to run to people on their phones. I only want this to run to people on their desktop computer. 93% of monthly active users on Facebook only use their phone to access Facebook. So if you go desktop only, you just lost 93% of Facebook users on the spot. So I would never turn off that. You could go mobile only, but since it's 93% already, you're basically running a mobile only ad as is. So there's no reason to play with mobile versus desktop only. You will every now and then hear someone who says, desktop converts better, it converts at a higher rate, you should go with that. That's a misleading fact. So like, say if desktop converts an average of 3% and mobile's at 2%, it's not because people are more likely to convert on a desktop, it's just that so many websites suck on phones that people don't convert as much just because the websites suck. If you have a good website that's mobile friendly, it will convert just as well, if not better. So don't worry about people who say desktop converts better. It's a misleading number that they're quoting. So always make sure you're targeting people on their phones because that's where you're getting most of the action. The instant article ads, it's basically a banner ad. So there's this thing on Facebook called instant articles where if you click on an article, it loads right away without having to go to a website. You'll know them by if you're on your phone, it'll have a little lightning bolt in the bottom left corner of the article. Most people don't even know it's there. But it just loads right away, and then midway through the article, it looks like a banner ad. I mean, it's a banner ad. Very few people ever click on them. They're fine for branding. So if I was doing a retargeting ad that was branding based, I might leave that on. If I'm trying to generate leads, I'm going to turn that off. In-stream videos, I always turn off because they're super annoying. Those are the ones where it's like a 2-minute video and 45 seconds in it stops, won't let you watch more until you watch the ad. I don't like our ads to be something that annoys the customer the first time they see it, so I turn those off. Right column ads, if you're on desktop, it's those ones that just show up on the right side. They're fine, like they work. They don't increase your cost per lead much. Newsfeed does better, but it doesn't, what we found, it doesn't cause like a detriment to running your ads for lead gen, so we don't really leave it on, but you're still going to get better results with news feeds, but there's no downside to leaving it there from what we found. And then suggested videos, if you have a video ad, you can leave that on, and basically just when someone's video is finished, your video might start auto-playing next. There's not really a downside to that either. You might get a few people to watch it, you probably won't get too many, but it's not like something you have to turn off because it's going to hurt what you're doing.
You don't have to check, like, is there no box there?
So because this isn't a video ad, The option's not
okay,
there to
that's
click
what I
on it.
thought.
If I chose a video ad, I would be able to pick those. Instagram, great for branding, great for luxury. Luxury is actually huge on Instagram. Terrible for lead gen. So what we found is Facebook newsfeed ads to Instagram newsfeed ads, we get about 10 to 1 leads off Facebook to Instagram. From a branding perspective, it's great. And the reason we think we get more leads with Facebook is, how many people here use Instagram? Just out of curiosity. So if you think about how you use it versus Facebook, Facebook you're used to like clicking on an article, leaving Facebook, going and doing something else. Instagram, the way it's always been used is you never leave the platform. You just scroll through and you stay on it. When you start asking people to leave it, it's not an action they're used to. They don't do it as often. So with Instagram, we find that from a lead generation perspective, it's not worth it. If it's a branding play, it works great. But we don't really use it that much now. Audience network, with the exception of the bottom one, which I'll get to, we always turn this off because they're super annoying. Anyone here play like a game on their phone like Candy Crush or anything like that? You ever had like an ad pop up in the middle? And that's an audience network ad. And you get really low cost per click, but a lot of those clicks are people like me with a fat finger who go to hit the X and miss it. And then it ends up taking me to the website anyways. That's not the type of person you want going to your site in the first place. And again, it's just annoying them as they're doing it. The only somewhat value here is a rewarded video. So what the rewarded video is in some of these games, like a Candy Crush, for example, is a lot of people don't like spending money, but if you spend money in these games, you can advance quicker. So what they've learned is watch an ad from our sponsor and we'll give you free money in game. So now they watch your 30-second video ad and then get rewarded at the end of it. That's not a bad branding position to essentially give someone a reward for watching your ad. What you will find is from a lead gen perspective, there's no value there because they're not going to click on it and leave the game. They just want to get back to the game and keep playing. But from a brand awareness perspective, you could do that and they'll kind of become a little bit more aware of you. The last one here is Messenger. Anyone uses Messenger as you're scrolling through your contacts to find someone to send a message to. It just pulls up and says, hey, here's an ad. It's like a banner ad. Similar to the other banner ads and the other ones, they don't work that well. But they don't hurt it that much either. The last one, don't worry about it, it's for sponsored messages. That's more if you get a lot of messages to your page, you could pay to send a message to everyone who's messaged your page. But if 99% of real estate agents whose pages I have access to, if they don't get a lot of messages to it, it's cheaper and easier if you just went and manually sent them a message yourself.
So we should not use Messenger really for the types of ads we're running? Is that what you're
Not for
saying?
paid ads. Like Messenger is an amazing way to work your sphere. Like your friends on Facebook, use Messenger to talk to them. Like I know people who probably get 10 to 20 deals a year just using Messenger. But that's on their personal profile and they're engaging their sphere that way. Whereas if you're running an ad through Messenger, it's just another ad. Like you're going to get better results using like the Facebook newsfeed.
Now, you've checked off feed from Instagram, like you said.
Yeah, I just haven't actually physically turned it off right now. Like I would, if I was running this ad, I would come and click that off, and click all these off.
Automatically comes checked. You have to uncheck.
Yeah. So the default for Facebook is have everything on, because that's how they get more money. Is they run more ads because the news feed is crowded. There's only so many places in the news feed for an ad to run. So they want audience network ads because they want their ads running in apps off Facebook. That means more money for them. But for you guys, the results aren't going to be the same, so I just turn it off. So, but the default is always to have every possible version turned on. You have to manually go in and turn that off.
So you would turn off instant articles as well, right? And write columns?
Yeah, if it's branding or a retargeting ad, I leave it on. So with a retargeting ad where it's people have been to my site, shown intent, and then I'm running an ad to them, I'll leave more of them on because they've already engaged with me, they're already familiar with me. If I'm ever targeting like a cold audience, I'm always going to turn off almost everything but newsfeed on Facebook only. If it's branding, I might leave Instagram on. Then there's budgeting. So kind of the rough rule of thumb that we like to use with budgeting, and you'll see your audience size over here, $10 a day per 100,000 people. So if you have 200,000 people in your audience, $20 a day is a good budget. If you have 100,000, $10, 50,000, $5. The minimum you can spend is $5 a day. What we found with that number is it reaches enough of them, but doesn't overdo it. Because if say you have an audience of 11,000, you spend $20 a day, in like 3 days you're going to overwhelm them and they're going to get annoyed with you. But if you have 200,000 at $20 a day, it's going to let that ad run for a pretty good length of time without annoying them while still getting decent results. If you have 200,000 in your audience, you can still only spend like $10 a day. That's fine. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to run a little bit longer, and it's going to take a little bit longer for the people to see it. But I wouldn't go too heavy below, like under that. So like again, like 11,000, I'm not putting $10 a day or $20 a day on that unless it's a very short ad. Like if it's an open house ad for these people that's going to run for 2 days, put whatever budget you want. It's not a big deal. You're going to make sure they see it. If say like this is you targeting a listing appointment coming up, toss $50 at that for a couple days. That's fine. You're going to make sure that the right people see it. But you just want to kind of that $10 a day per 100,000 people is a good rule of thumb to follow.
Andrew,
Yeah.
Google ad versus Facebook ad, which one you prefer?
I personally prefer Facebook to Google Ads, but there's a key difference. So one, Google Ads are more expensive, but the main difference is you get less competition with Facebook ads from the lead perspective. And the reason for that is, and this is where the advantage of Google to Facebook is Google shows intent. So when you go on Google, you're typing in 4-bedroom home for sale in Vaughan.
Yeah.
Facebook, they're not typing that in. They're just on Facebook looking at who got fat from high school. They're not looking at anything else. Like they're just going through it. So Google, and they're typing in 4-bedroom home for sale, you know exactly what they're interested in. But what people do, and I'm sure a lot of you when you use Google is similar, you might open up 3 or 4 tabs of the results and see which one you like the best. And then say you open 3 or 4 or 5, you message 2 or 3 of them. Now, from an agent perspective, you're now competing with 2 or 3 other agents right away, right off the bat. Then it just normally becomes who contacts them first. And it becomes a very much that game of who's the first one to the lead, because it's something like 75% of leads just go with who contacts them first. So it becomes a very much a speed thing. Whereas Facebook, the competition's not there, but the downside to that is they're usually earlier in the process. So Google, they might be 60, 90 days out. Facebook, they might be 6 months to 12 months out. So you need a follow-up plan with Facebook, but you can get a lot more leads and consistent at a lower cost. So if you have a follow-up plan in place, long-term you're getting a better, higher ROI on Facebook. But if you don't have a follow-up plan and you're not the person who's going to call them, every month for 12 months, or at the beginning you can do a little bit more, then go to Google because it's going to be less of that long-term follow-up. But I prefer Facebook if you have a follow-up plan.
Thank you.
Budgeting, you have 2 options, either daily budget or lifetime. One thing to note, if I switch this to lifetime right now, it's going to default. Say like I put this on, I'm only going to spend $5 a day. Then I switch it to lifetime budget, it's going to default to $350.
Yeah.
If I change my mind and go back, it doesn't go back to my $5 a day, it goes to the default of $20. So I've seen a few people who have screwed up who have like, oh no, I'm gonna go back, and didn't realize it went back to the default instead of the ad the budget they had just picked. So I had a client who ended up spending $500 on an open house ad for 24 hours because they made that little mix up.
Yeah.
So just be cognizant of that. If you're making changes, it always goes back to what the default is and not what you previously wrote in. I've seen some people lose a bit of money that way. The open house got a lot of attention, but I mean, $500 on an open house isn't necessarily the best use of the money. You can set a schedule here, so you can be like, I want this ad to run from this date to this date. That's more like for us, we use that for like listings, open houses, just solds, because it's you want it to run just maybe like a week at a time. If it's a lead gen, we normally just let it keep going until the results start to change. Once the results are getting worse, then we'll turn it off ourselves. If you know you're the type of person who's never going to go in and look once it's running, then I might set an end date just to make sure that if it's not going that well and you forget about it, it's going to turn off at some point. But just like with us, we're always in there every day looking. We leave them on running until we notice manually that there's some changes. There is some more advanced stuff you can get into where you can tell Facebook, like if my cost per lead gets above this point, just turn off the ad. Or if my cost per lead gets really low, double my budget. But that's a little bit more in the advanced side of it. And that's more for marketers who are running like 50 ads at a time, and it's hard to pay attention to them. For most agents, you're probably running 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 at most at a time. It's very fine to run those things. There is one advantage to a lifetime budget versus a daily budget, which is here. where you can run ads on a schedule. So you could say, I only want the ads to run, maybe Monday 9 to 6, Tuesday 9 to 9, Wednesday this time. And you could run ads based on kind of like the schedule that you want. Because say for you, it's very important to be quick to respond to the leads, but I know every Monday at 6:30 my kid has a soccer game and I can't pick up my phone. I'm not going to let my ads run while I can't pick up the phone. You can make changes like that. What we find it's better just to leave it on all the time. This for us is more like if we were running ads for a pizza shop, we would only run ads between 12 and 4:30 or 12 and 5 saying, what are you doing for dinner tonight? That's where that's more valuable because a pizza advertisement at 6 a.m. not much of a point. But for agents, we find run it 24 hours a day because there's shift workers, there's people like that who work all these different schedules. And if someone gets a lead in at 3 a.m., they're not expecting you to answer them at 3 a.m. You can answer when you get up and you'll still get a response. So we personally leave this as 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you wanted to make any adjustments like that, you can. All right. So once you get all that, now you actually get into building the ad. Any questions before I get into how to set up the ad the right way? Okay, so here's the different types of ads you can run. There's carousel ad. If you've ever been on Facebook, it's basically like these little cards. You can swipe through them and see different things about the ad. They usually get a really low cost per click, but the cost per lead isn't any better. I think the reason that there's a lower cost per click is as people are swiping through, they accidentally click instead of swipe sometimes. It opens it up, they go to the website not meaning to. That will actually hurt your ad because there's a thing called relevancy score, and that Facebook is just here's how relevant people find your ad. The more relevant they find your ad, the less they charge you to show more people. The less relevant, they charge you more for less people to see it. So if people are clicking on your ad and leaving right away, you're going to get charged more money in the long term for less people to see it. So I personally don't really use these. The only time we use these is if we have a client who sold 4 houses in one neighborhood in a short time. We'll run an ad with each of those houses as its own card as he's the neighborhood expert, she's the neighborhood expert, look what they've done in the area. But for the most part, we leave that off because we like to do one image, one ad, and to make it very consistent, because if you start putting multiple ones in there, multiple calls to action, it's not as good. The only time we still generally run these, besides the just sold one, is if we have a really nice panoramic shot. Because if you have a beautiful panorama, it's not going to fit well in one of these ads, but this you could break it up into those different cards and they can scroll through and look at the panorama. It looks really slick, looks really professional. But if you ever do that, just make sure you turn off the button that says reorder the cards based on lowest click. Because what they'll do is, say the third card's the most clicked one, the next time someone sees the ad, they're going to move the third card to the beginning. If you've set the cards up based on a panorama, now it's going to be all out of order. We had a client who wanted to run an ad of, they had a team of 12, they lined them up, they all jumped in the air, and they took a photo of the team jumping in the air, and then we did a carousel ad like that. But when they set it up the first time, they didn't turn off that button, so it ended up being one guy, the ad started with a guy cut in half, jumped in the air, and it all got jumbled up. So just, if you're going to run those, make sure you know how that works. But personally, unless you're kind of getting more advanced and trying new things, I would not start there. I wouldn't really use it. Most of our ads are single image ads. It's just one image for the ad. We've tested, especially with listings, everyone's video's the way to go. Video from a branding point is amazing. From leads, you actually get more leads off a single image than you do a video. And that's one that we were surprised by, but that's what the numbers showed us, so now we mostly go single image. But again, from a branding perspective, trying to attract more sellers, video is amazing. So some of what we do with some of our clients is we'll run a video ad to the neighborhood to try and show the neighbors, the work that we're doing and how nice our marketing is, and that we can do it for them. But then for the ads to attract buyers, we run a separate one that's single image because we're going to get more leads out of it. So kind of you have to make that decision. You want to run 2 ads, you want to run one for the branding, but if you want the most leads possible, you go single image. Slideshow. So what we used to do, we found lately single image has been outperforming it. The advantage of a slideshow is you can upload 10 photos and Facebook automatically just rolls through them with their autoplay. So if someone's scrolling through, it'll show them the outside of the home and then automatically show them the kitchen or the other nice features of the home. So it gets some people to stop because it just cycles through really quick. the best photos of a home. But again, we've been getting better results with single image lately, so we've almost stopped doing them. The collection one here, don't worry about it. It's relatively new. Our initial test with it, the results were never any better, and it's a little bit more work to set up, so it just wasn't worth it. So don't worry about that. We'll keep testing. Like I'd say every like 3 to 6 months, we come back to old features like that we ignore now and test them again. We'll keep testing that every few months to see if it's getting any better, because Facebook does keep improving their products. But I'd say for now, you don't have to worry about that at all.
Sorry, so if I wanted to do an ad for a new listing, I would do single image?
Yeah, so what you can do, and I'll show you next step right here, is you can actually upload 6 images, and it'll actually create an ad, a single image ad of each one. And say I'm running the ad for a week, I'll let all 6 images run for like 2 days, see which gets the best results, and then turn off the images that aren't performing as well. I'll show you that, I'll show you that in action on an actual account once I get through it.
But I was told, the best thing to do maybe is to add only 3 pictures so they don't have to click to see the rest of them. Would
Yeah.
that be, like, what
So,
would I click
and that's
on
what
there?
we used to do, because that's what we thought too. But when we actually looked at the numbers and looked at how many leads we're getting, cost per lead and all that, we were surprised, but it was single image that kept outperforming. So that we ended up, like, we used to always do slideshow or video
Right.
until we did it was actually an accidental test because that got disabled for a few days once, and we had to run a bunch of ads. So we're like, well, we can only run a single image, so let's do it. And the results were so much better that we kept testing it, even when the slideshow and video came back, and it wasn't even close. Like, we were probably averaging $3 to $7 a lead using slideshow and video, and now we're between 50 cents and $5 using single image.
Probably because people just don't have time, they just do.
Yeah, that, and they see one image, they click, they become a lead, they want to go look at the other images. Whereas with these, they've already seen them.
Yeah.
So, again, these are lower quality leads when you're looking at a listing, but especially like our other campaigns as well, single image works really well. If you're doing a single image ad, there's a few kind of best practices. Up the contrast on the image by 20-30%, it makes it stand out a little bit more. The other side of it is make it look like almost like an organic post. So like, that's not their friend my post. So if you have it just sold as an example, you'll actually get better results if it's a picture of you with the sold sign than if you pay a professional graphic designer to put like a really nice logo on it that says sold. Because if it looks like something that their friend might have posted, they're more likely to actually stop and look at it. There's a good example of this, the store H&M. They ran a campaign, one against another. One, they hired a professional photographer, professional models, and they took the best possible photos of all of their clothes on the best looking models they could find. Then they ran another campaign at the same time where they went to just people on Instagram wearing H&M clothes and just says, hey, can we use your photo in one of our ads? The photos of people off Instagram beat the professional photos of the models like 10 to 1. Like, it wasn't even close, because people think like, hey, this could be someone I know, and they stop. Yeah, then they realize it's an ad. Now they've already stopped and started reading it. It's that same idea behind like the cold cut companies who spend millions of dollars to change their cutters so that the meat you buy isn't a perfect circle anymore, so it looks organic and it looks like it's misshapen. People prefer that kind of organic look and feel to something that's a little bit too polished. So there is a lot of value in not having it look this super professionally designed, polished thing. And that's where it can work really well on Facebook. So here's where you would come in just to upload your own images. Again, if it's a single image ad, you can upload up to 6, and it'll actually essentially just create 6 different versions of the same ad with a different image. And then you can wait a few days, see which one gets the best response, and then pick a winner that way. If you don't have any images, you can pick a stock image. Normally my stock images, we use a house. I almost always use this house just because of the stock ones, it performs the best. But I'd only recommend doing that if it actually looks like a house that might be in the area you're trying to sell. Our general rule of thumb when we're picking the image of a house for a campaign is go one small step above what they're actually looking for. So if they're looking for $1 million house, we're going to pick a house that might be 1.05, 1.1. And just kind of go that one step above, we find we get better responses. If you go too far above, like if you pick a $1.5 million house and the ad's more for like a $1 million price range, people don't click on it as much and they get annoyed. But that one that like, it's almost in their range, it's a kind of that perfect spot that we found when we're running ads. So we'll just put up here. Okay, so here you just put the link to where you're going. So I'll just put a random link in here. And then, so in terms of the setup of the ad, and this is kind of where it's counterintuitive when you're thinking about it, is because what happens is when they're scrolling on their phone, it comes up like this. So you'd think they see this first, then what you wrote, then the image and the headline. What Facebook has actually found is they look at the image first, then the headline, then come back and read. Because people scroll through pretty quick, and it's the image that gets them to stop. So you want to make sure it's an image that someone would want to stop and look at. Then they're going to read the headline, then they're going to come back and read. So how we set up our ads is we get the house image that we like or whatever the image is, and then in the bottom headline part here, we're going to tell them what they're getting. So say this was, for example, like a home evaluation ad. We're going to say free report. So right away they know what they're getting. And then what's my home worth? So now right away it's the image. They look at it. It's a nice house. They stop. And then free report, what's my home worth? But here's where you want to do it a little bit differently in the text. Is you don't, like, and this is me speaking, I don't care if someone wants to know what their home is worth. Half the people doing that, they're just curious, no intention of ever selling.
Yeah.
What you want to do is narrow those people out before they actually get through your ad. So we have two ways to open an ad that we found work the best. And it depends on the area. So like, if you were working, just as an example, like if I was running an ad to like Aurora, Newmarket, and Richmond Hill, I couldn't open it with Hi Aurora because I'm going to different areas. If my ad was only going to Aurora, I would say Hi Aurora. And the idea there is people who live in Aurora are more likely to stop and read it because it's calling out something that's personal to them. So if you're running an ad to like a specific neighborhood in the area, like you could do like Hi Lorne Park, and you could do it that way. If you don't have that type of like a neighborhood name that's recognizable or something like that, then you go to what our second line usually is and start with that. And what you're doing there is you're going to ask a question that the person you want to become a lead will say yes to. So I'm not going to ask, do you want to find out what your home is worth, because that's not my ideal lead. I'm going to ask, are you thinking of selling your home? If they say yes to that, that's who I want to read my ad. So I might say, thinking of selling your home. And then I also put in emojis, a few emojis in the ads. The reason for that, it breaks up what people are used to seeing with all the text. They're more likely to stop. What we found best practice, 1 to 4 emojis an ad, roughly. If you go too many, it just kind of looks cartoony and cheesy. The higher end luxury, the less emoji we found is what we normally do. But you can also experiment. Like we had an ad one time. So does anyone know what the most popular emoji in Canada is? It's the poo. The one that looks like poo is by statistically the most popular one sent by all Canadians. So we ran an ad with it, didn't we? So we had, Canadians were super classy people. We love poo. It's not chocolate ice cream. So we ran an ad for a client in Barrie. They had a house that the garage blew up in a meth lab explosion. It was a crappy house. There was no way around it. And they ran an ad the first time without us that was just like, come check out this house, it's priced to sell, your kind of traditional stuff. And half the comments were like, are you trying to hide that this is a meth lab house that blew up? So we're like, let's go a different route. Let's embrace that. So we said, calling all contractors, have we got the 8 poop emoji house for you? We're like, this house blew up in a meth lab explosion. It's going to need a lot of work. Are you up for the challenge? When we ran the ad that way, we got a lot of action. People tagging contractors they knew, contractors tagging their agents saying, write up an offer, let's go see this tonight. And then the other half of people just thought it was funny because there's a bunch of poop emojis in a professional ad. Only run that type of ad if it fits your brand. The other side of that is if you're going to put emojis in your ads, understand what the emojis mean. Because an eggplant isn't an eggplant. And a peach is not a peach. So don't run them unless you know. And if you don't understand what I just said, ask someone who laughed and they'll tell you why they're filthy. So after we say that, thinking of selling your home, now we get into the rest of it. Now we're telling them what they're getting. So now we're like, thinking of selling your home, start by getting a free home value report. So now we're saying them, okay, you're thinking of selling, here's what you can get. Then what we like to do, especially with home value ads, is we don't want people to have false expectations. Because a lot of people think with a home value ad, is they're gonna click, type in their address, and it's gonna shoot out a number. Be like, hey, your home's worth 1.1. That's one. Even if you have that service, they're never accurate, especially in Canada. Like even the most accurate one, which is Zestimate in the U.S., they have an 8% margin of error. 8% on $1 million is a lot of money. So I don't use them. What we will say instead is this is not an automated valuation. This is going to be a custom-made report by a local professional. So we're telling them exactly what's going to happen. And sometimes we'll even say things like, we're going to call you after you opt in, ask you questions about your home to get a better idea and give you a more accurate representation of your home's value. So we're going to be very upfront and clear. You'll get a little bit less leads that way, but those coming in, having read it, are going to be a much higher quality lead. With that being said, you are, no matter what, you could write that out a million times. There's going to be people who don't read it anyways and click through and expect it to be instant. You're going to get a few people who are disappointed, but that's just because people online don't like to read. That happens. You'll also hear from other people that you should not run a long ad. Your ad should be short. People have a short attention span. That's also BS too. People do have short attention spans, but if it's good information, they will read it. So like I run an ad that was 500 words, outperformed one that was 10 because it was good information. Make your ad as long as you have good information. If you're doing a video ad, it can be 20 minutes long if it's good 20 minutes of content. If you're just saying like you had 3 minutes of content and 17 minutes of filler and crap, of course no one's going to watch it. But if you have good 20 minutes, like I've seen one of the top marketers in the world, he ran an ad that was 55 minutes long, and he had a 2,000% ROI on his Facebook ad because he shared the results after. And it was a 50-minute ad. But it was a really good 50 minutes that he got right with the targeting. So for me, like I'll run often ads that are 3-4 paragraphs long, but it's good information. As long as you have that good information, you can keep it running. If you don't have good info, keep it short. So start with that thinking of selling your home, tell them what they're going to get, tell them what to expect when they click on it, and then tell them exactly what to do. End it with, so click on learn more below. Click on the image below. Tell them exactly what action you want them to take. They're more likely to do it. And then you'll see here there's a button called call to action. It basically allows you to add a button to your ad. What we found is the learn more one works the best. It's the least kind of commitment. So like if you say book now, apply now, request time, that's a much more like a bigger commitment for someone to take when it's just the ad they've seen for the first time. Whereas learn more, it's non-threatening, and it's just like an easy thing for someone to click on. So we find if we leave the learn more button there, which is the default, so you don't have to change it, that works the best when we're looking at ad results.
So, and where do they go when they learn more? Is it just your website?
So yeah, so whatever link you put in here, that's where they're gonna end up.
And would you suggest a landing page or?
Yeah, so when you're choosing the link, never send someone just to the homepage of your website. That's a huge mistake we see a lot of people make, especially with like listings. Every campaign you ever run should have a dedicated process to it. So if you're running a home evaluation ad, they should land on the page where they type in their address. If you're running a thing to download a guide on how to prepare your home for sale, they should land on the page where they enter their information to get the guide. You always want one ad to go straight to one campaign related to that ad. And the page they land on, ideally, should have 0 other options. Because like if you send them to even just like a random page on your website and there's like home, about, buyer, seller, contact, and then an offer, every one of those buttons is an opportunity for them not to become a lead. Whereas if they go to a page that is just get a home evaluation or leave, that's the only option.
How about the Facebook one that's already pre-set up, like more effective?
So the pre-filled in ones on Facebook, you'll get a higher quantity, lower quality. So you got to make that decision. Do I want more leads of less quality? What you do when you do with a landing page, you generally get higher quality leads because people take a little bit more time. They have to manually fill in their information. They're reading the page. They're clicking on the button to pop up the form. So basically, the more work someone takes to get what you have, the higher quality the lead is. Because Facebook made it so easy, you get a lot of leads. But like, for instance, we had a client over last weekend. They spent $200 on a listing ad. We got them 162 leads. I'd say probably 30% of them forgot they even entered their information because it was almost like iTunes terms of service. It just popped up, they hit submit and kept going. They forgot they even did it. So that you're getting lower quality, but quantity's there. So if you just like, I'm fine with low quality leads, I want a lot. I want to have conversations. I want to talk to people. Use a lead ad, and you'll fill up with as many leads as you can handle. Like, getting leads online is not hard, especially if you have a listing. It's the part that comes after you get the leads that's the hard part. Like, the industry average rate for online leads is a conversion of 1.9%. Like, the best agents close around 5 to 7% of leads. So like, you're looking at a pretty high number there. And like, you can take different strategies. Like, I know a woman in the States, she closes 14%. If you guys know the Brell team downtown, they're at 30%. But their strategy is also a lot different. They're doing a content and branding play as opposed to a straight lead gen. So depending on the strategy you can take, you can up that number quite a bit.
So if you're farming something, you're best off going content and branding.
Yeah. Oh, like from a long-term ROI perspective, and you would use these strategies to promote your content.
Yeah.
But creating content, promoting it to an area is always going to get you the best results at the end of the day. Like, it's going to long-term. Like,
And
it's
the
going to take
content
time.
you'll go to a branding page to get the content. Like, where
Yeah.
will the content come from?
So you got to create it, or you can pay someone to create it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the budget, what I would do, say, if I went back to sales today and I had the budget for it, I'd hire someone at like $15 an hour to essentially be like a newspaper reporter role for my business, and just be like, go report on everything about the town, so that our website has any information about Aurora imaginable on our site. And then I would also then hire someone to do like video of it too. It's like Gary Vee, if you know who he is.
Yeah.
What he says, like, one of the most popular things you could do is just go like find that pothole in your town that everyone knows about and do a video about it. It's local, everyone sees it, everyone gets like understands it, and they're more likely to engage. It's really local to them. Or like do videos of a really popular one. So we have two versions of it. One is like, we'll get a client to grab one of their buyers, go stand in the neighborhood in front of the street sign that they want to buy in, and be like, hey, this is Bob. Bob wants to buy on this road. Who do you know in the area that's thinking of selling? He has a budget of up to $800,000. He's looking for 3 bedrooms or more for him and his kids. A simple ad like that can get a lot of results. The other side of that, if you sell a property, instead of just saying, hey, we just sold this in 3 days, stand in front of the sold sign with the ad of like you putting the sold rider on, with the video of you saying, hey, we just sold this property. 3 people missed out on this home who are still interested right now in this neighborhood. So if you're thinking of selling, we have people right now who just missed out on this home we just sold. You can take advantage of that fact now too. Like, we've had clients had a lot of success that type of route on video too. If you're gonna do Facebook video, you always want to get captions made, because 70% of videos on Facebook are watched without sound. People are like, they're at work, they're in the bathroom, they don't want the guy in the stall next to them to know that they're listening to their phone. So that's why they're doing it without sound. There's a website, rev.com, rev.com. They will add captions for you. They'll give you a file you can upload. It's a cost $1 per minute of video. So you have a 3-minute video, $3, you have captions added to your video for Facebook. Yeah.
Or I think it is part one, you
Yeah.
were talking about, you're putting a seller, let's say a listing ad,
Yeah.
advertise for, 10 days or 2 weeks. Buyer ad, where was the category
So when you're back here, there's just an option like where there's budget for selecting how long you want it to run.
under budget, right?
Yeah. So I'll show you some actual examples of some ads that are running right now. So for instance, like with a listing. All right, so we'll give you the example of this one here. Look at this one for Jeff. So this one, it's been running. He's spent $42. He's gotten 21 leads off of it. So here you can see, this is the ad. We actually have all these different images running for the ad. This is one ad. So you can see this image got 14 of the leads. This one got 4, this one got 3, these got none. So obviously when we keep the ad going after this initial spend, we're just gonna keep this one on only. Because why would you keep the others on if they're not performing as well? So like if you look here, this one is getting it at $1.80 a lead, $2.14 a lead, $2.61 a lead. We're gonna keep the $1.80 one going only.
It's the same text, just a different
Yeah,
image.
the only change is the image. So like this one is the kitchen. This is the living room. That's the backyard. And this is the front of the home, didn't get any leads.
Usually that's what you think.
So normally most of the time it goes front of the house, kitchen is the 2 best. This one, the front of the house got nothing. It's the kitchen that killed it. So that's why you want to always test because sometimes different homes it changes. So that's why we always upload the full amount of photos, let it run for a bit, and then pick a winner. Because we've seen some, like I had one, it was 47 cents a lead. This one was at $12. So obviously, like we switched that one pretty quick. At this rate, where it's like $1.80 to like $2.61, we let them run a bit longer because it might just be like coincidental that this one got a couple extra leads this time on a low budget. But when it's like a huge swing, we'll always go to the lower one first.
It's like $10 a day or $20 a day.
So the minimum, but this one, it's $50 for a week the way we set it up. The minimum you can do is $5 a day. But if you set $5 a day from the campaign level, it splits the $5 a day between these 6. So it's not $5 a day for each one.
Then the reach goes down.
Yeah.
How's the amount determined?
Pardon?
How's the amount determined?
Oh, so basically what they do is they'll rotate them all, because Facebook's goal is to get you the most amount of leads possible. So they'll start rotating until so for instance this one, they noticed that it was getting a better result. So then they just started pushing more of the budget there. It's Facebook optimized, because like for Facebook, they just want you to keep buying ads. If they're just gonna do it evenly and you're gonna get crappy results on some and better results on the other, they know you're not gonna keep advertising as much. So
I noticed that the higher results also bring the cost per result down.
pardon?
The higher results
Yeah.
that are acquired bring the cost down overall.
Yeah, like these will skew it a bit, but that's why eventually you just shut them off entirely. So like these ones here, it would have spent some money on it, which is going to change the overall number. But once you turn them off, it'll start going back to the lower one. Yeah.
So where do the leads come in? Are they?
So these ones are Facebook lead ads. So that's the one where the form pops up on Facebook pre-filled in and then gets sent off. So those one, it just goes into the back of your page, and there's where there's the settings button on your business page. Next to it, there's one that says publishing tools. You click on publishing tools, scroll down on the left side, it says lead ad forms, and you can download it there.
Will it give you an alert?
No. So that's where we use it. I'll pull it up on this page where we use a tool called LeadsBridge. Pull it up here. So just waiting for it to load. But it's called LeadsBridge. That will connect to your Facebook ad account, pull the lead out automatically as soon as it comes in, and email it to you. Or depending on your CRM, it'll put it right into your CRM for you.
Exact, does it?
I'll show you the list of real estate CRMs they have. I don't think Exact is on there though.
Follow-up boss should be.
Yeah, Follow Up Boss is on there. We use that quite a bit. Yeah, so 5 Street's on there. I know you guys all get that through Integra, so you do have 5 Street. We find Follow Up Boss does work the best. They do list Real Estate Webmasters, but when I brought it to Real Estate Webmasters' attention, they said they've never heard of them. They don't know why they're there. That was just a weird one. But the rest of them work. Top Producer, if you're using that, we find that it works intermittently. Like we had a client using it, worked for like a month, and then just stopped with no notification, and they just stopped going in. So like they thought the leads just dried up, and we sent like 150 leads that went nowhere. So it was a weird one. So we found that there's a change in the Top Producer code that screwed it up. Follow Up Boss just always worked really well. Yeah.
Sorry, how much is LeadsBridge?
Forget. There's a program called AppSumo where you can buy like lifetime access to things. So for me, it was $39 for lifetime access. Here, $260 a year. That's US, I'm guessing. So if you're gonna run a lot, it's worth it because it's a pain in the butt to have to go in and pull them all out manually. Zapier might be cheaper. You can also use that.
So what do you use?
I use this. Yeah, but I mean, we also run it for 80 agents, so it makes it. We're actually up on one. I think we're on this one now. But I mean, for us, it makes sense. And if you just want to like test an ad like this, we have a product where we'll run an ad just for like individual listings. So most of our business is built on like a monthly retainer model. But we also offer just send us one of your listings, we'll run an ad for it like this without you having to buy this, and we'll do it. But that's another thing. So that's, and I'll show you what one of the ads look like, just so you can kind of see copy-wise how we set up a listing ad. Here we go. not the right one. That was him posting that. Where'd it go? He shared that one. That's not right. We'll go down here. Okay, here we go. So again, like I was mentioning, you started with a question, looking for a fantastic family home in Barrie, South End. If you're looking for that, you say yes, this is going to be the property for you. Then we give them a couple hits, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a little few hits about the property, and then if they click see more, it'd be like, for more information, more photos, just click below. When they click below, pops up the form, they hit submit, becomes a lead for us, they get all the information they want about the property. So it works pretty well, but again, we always try to start with that question that your ideal lead would say yes to. We find that that is normally the best way to open an ad. Quick benefits, quick why it's worth it to them, and then ask them to do what you want them to do.
So
Sorry.
for an ad like this, how long would you run it for?
Listing ads, what we do is we'll do it for a week. As soon as it's listed, we run the ad for a week, and then it just depends on results. Like if we're running an ad like this and it's getting 50-cent leads, we'll put as much money as we can until that number goes up way too high. But if it's at like $4 or $5 a lead, we would normally just end it there. But it's also up to the client. So like some of our clients will, put another 50 at it or something like that. It also depends on like the seller. If the seller's a pain in the butt and they want to know that you're doing something, we'll run it and keep running it just so that they keep seeing that there's ads and those numbers go up. Because like some of the things we've done too is like we look at there's vanity metrics. So like how many reach, like how many impressions you got, how many people saw your ad. That doesn't matter at the end of the day for your results. It's all about how many leads you're getting, how are you converting them. But the vanity metrics matter to sellers sometimes. So sometimes we'll run ads with the goal just to boost the vanity numbers. Same with like followers on your page, like how many likes you have. Now, especially after all the recent changes, they mean nothing. How many likes you have is irrelevant. It's 100% now just a vanity metric. So don't worry about getting likes. Like a year ago, 2 years ago, they had value. Now they have none. So don't worry about it.
Sorry, on this type of ad, when you click the learn more, where are they going?
It literally just pops up a form on Facebook. And then it pre-filled in. When they hit submit, it says, okay, now click this button below. And then it's to go view the listing. And just takes them to their website, to the page on their website with that listing on it.
Is that when you set it up as a lead generation?
Yeah.
Or
So when you do it as a lead gen ad where the form pops up on Facebook, you will say when they finish filling out the form, where do you want them to go? And you put in the link of where you want to send them.
then you have to set up the leads bridge or some other
Yeah.
tool to get that
So
to
when you do it with LeadsBridge, you can actually set up the lead form in LeadsBridge, and just it's all one process. If you use Zapier, which is one of the reasons we prefer LeadsBridge, is you got to go into Facebook, create the lead form, go back to Zapier, connect them that way. So it's a little bit more of a back and forth process. LeadsBridge, because this is just what they do, and they've done it a lot better. It's just one continuous process to set the connection up.
So if you didn't want to do that right off the hop, like
Yeah.
just where would you even not maybe do the learn more and hoping that they comment in the ad?
So if you're doing that route, I just wouldn't do a lead gen ad because like for a listing, because like the way you're getting them here, for example, is the price isn't in the ad. Part of the reason they're clicking is they want to find out what the home costs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not sending them somewhere where it's going to give them those answers, they're just going to get annoyed because why do they give you their information if they can just comment on the ad without giving up their info? So you got to look at that side of it too. So like at the very least, I would just go create like a post on your page or a page on your website that just says, 123 Main Street, 800,000, 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, description, upload a few photos, like just make it a very basic page that has the info they want. Otherwise, you're gonna. Oh, one other note, like if you have a website that has forced registration, so that's one where like to look at anything they have to sign in. Make sure it's turned off if you're doing an ad like this, because now they've registered twice and you're just gonna annoy them. So if you're doing this type of ad, don't have forced registration on your site. Some of our clients now actually have 2 sites, one that's forced registration, one that's not, so that they can do these types of ads. Questions? Now stick around for a few minutes if you guys have questions about Facebook ads. I think there's a sign-in sheet. If you haven't, like we're going to send the recording of today. I think the audio should work even though I was standing away from it, but we'll send out the recording with all the information here so you can watch it again. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, appreciate you guys coming today.
Check this off.
I did, but it takes me just to read through it. It's fine.
Christina, I need someone to help me. I don't even have a business website now. So I'm doing like the rest. I've got only personal, and this is all new to me. But I want to stay to the end. I'm willing to pay. So where should I
grab
go?
my card.
Yeah.
मिनिमम बजट है $500 वो सिर्फ एडवर्टाइज लगाने का लीड्स का
Running, and that's good.
So what are your charges like?
So we have a few different options. They range from $500 a month to $2,000 a month, depending on what you want. Or if you just have listings, it's $150 a listing. The first time there's a $250 setup fee, then it's just $150 a listing after that.
Andrew, can I have one more for my friend?
Yep.
Thank you.
So anytime there's any listing, we just give you a call and like.
Where do you get this one?
Pardon?
Where do you get
I ordered it online. Amazon. But like they have them at a lot
You
of
can
places.
take it.
So I have a question, like you said to set up ad, it's either $20 or minimum $5. So leads are, the cost of everything is gonna be top of $5? $5 is just for that, right?
Yes. $5 a day.
Day.
That's the minimum. Good. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything will be here?
Yeah. Do you send them to your website? Yeah. So it's probably just your website's not set up in a way. With the agent, yes, they don't convert unless you have forged registration on that well. So I probably switch to a lead ad, or they have to like register on Facebook and then go to your site.
Ran like I had another one, and I think it did pretty well.
We've noticed that like I like Agent Locator, I like the sites, but that's what we've noticed is it doesn't convert that traffic that well.
But usually when they go there, there's a thing that pops up at once.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we've noticed that it's not just Agent Locator, they don't convert that
So
traffic.
are we gonna
Why
work?
we do the Facebook lead ad. Because then it doesn't matter how your site converts.
Are we
They've
gonna go
already
up
converted by the time.
upstairs or? Yeah, just give it. Okay. So can I have a?
Yeah.
For the 500, the minimum is 500. And so what do you get in that?
So the 500 is our management fee, then there's ad spend on top of that. We recommend 500 in ad spend. Then with that, you get up to 4 listings a month, and we'll also build like a custom campaign. So that's where it's like, let's target sellers with a guide. Like a guide knows how to create home for sale. We'll create that. But we'll work with you on the idea of who do we want to target with a custom campaign, and then we'll build all the assets and the landing pages and ads to target them.
So we're looking at $1,000 minimum.
Yeah, for our service. Yeah. We're one of the higher. Like if you want a cheaper one, that's our lower end. We have some that are. Most of our clients are like teams, people doing 40 plus deals a year. Like that's kind of so like most people coming to us, they're already making. Yeah, we don't do a ton of mortgage brokers. We do some because with Facebook ads, the more you get into financial stuff, the stricter they are. So like debt consolidation ads are really hard to run. Reverse mortgage ones really hard to run because Facebook's really short. But like guides on like how to finance to purchase your first home, those work really well. So it's about finding that right one and messaging. So there's a $500 package and then there's an ad spend. So then we recommend $500. Most of our clients spend then we have $1,000 package.
Would that include whatever all we are paying, so you're going to pay out of your own? That's fine.
So the 500 goes to us, and then you pay Facebook directly to the which we recommend is 500.
So 500 is yeah. So 500 is your concession.
So I use lead pages. I would recommend either lead pages or Instagram.
I'm sorry?
Lead pages or
Yeah, those are, so like lead pages is
Okay, I have to call my office.
lead Instapage gives you a little bit more flexibility, but it's a little bit more finicky when you're adjusting the like desktop versus mobile version. So like the lead pages, as you build it, it perfectly creates the versions for computers and for phones. With Instapage, you have to build both. So like they do some steps to try and make it a little bit easier, but you still have to build it. So
you're creating them or they're already
for our clients, yeah, we do it all. So like the idea with us, when we do it for our clients, is they don't have to do it. That's why we're called Just Sell Homes. Just Sell Homes will handle that stuff.
With the minimum $1,000
So partially it depends on what you want. So we can look at, do you want a lot of leads or do you want just higher quality lower numbers? So we can kind of adjust based on that. But normally we'll say, depending on what you want, it can be anywhere from 30 to 200. And then how many listings? Like listings, it's so easy. We can almost get you as many as you want. So it varies a lot.
It's like a base, right?
Like some clients, they want, just, I don't care if they're crap quality, I want every lead I can get. There's others who are like, I just want this. Well, like I have a client, I sent him a lead, he got 6 deals. I sent another client 1,000. So if you're good at working, you can make the crap leads. But you gotta work. And that's where that's our biggest turnover. People aren't very important. And if you consistently follow up, the ROI doesn't matter. Which is where the struggle
We have pizza coming, so don't be high. We have lunch.
That's